everybody. How's everyone doing? Woo! All right, that's good. I like to hear that early in the morning. So I'm very thrilled to be opening East Meets West this year, and we have a real special guest who embodies East Meets West. He went to Stanford. He's been investing in startups in China. He is on the Forbes Midas list for 6 times. He's recently number 20 in the world of investors. His portfolio includes amazing startups you may have heard of, like Xiaomi, Wish, ByteDance, Slack, Airbnb, OfferUp, Peloton, and Coinbase.
Wow.
Yes, and he also has time, all of that, to host a podcast called 996, which we'll talk about. Please welcome to the stage, Tung! All right, so I think a lot of people here would like to know a little bit about how you apply that Midas touch. And also a lot of startups here, also a lot of potential angels and VCs. How do you look and how do you judge a startup when you're looking at them to invest into them?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I was supposed to be here last year. We had an internal offsite that changed the time, so we couldn't make it. So it's great to be here. I think that when I started at Stanford, it was between 89 and 92. So it was right before Netscape was born, the Mosaic browser came out. And as any sort of first generation immigrant in the US need to have a job after college, I did engineering. And then in that process, I came to understand something called investment banking in New York, and did that after school. So as I was doing that, it started dawn on me that internet was happening, and I need to be part of it. And it's something that's similar to what's going on with crypto and blockchain today. And in the process of doing so, I've tried investment banking, tried startups in the internet space twice, and realized that I'm not a good founder. It is very difficult to be a good founder, and I don't have the sort of attention to details and the tenacity to just do one thing extremely well. And I realized that I'm good at figuring things out, how things are coming in waves, what's coming up, what's around the corner. And I have a feel for consumer and understand what consumers want, region after region or country after country. So that's how I decided that being a VC was something that I'm probably better at, and started applying myself. And if you ask me how I pick unicorns, if you care about the founder, you care about what they're doing, and you love the industry or sector they're in, you develop some kind of intuition over a period of time, and you look for patterns. And over time, as student history, I love studying history of rise and fall of nations, also rise and fall of sports teams. And you do that enough, you develop a sense of what could be big, and be willing to jump in early with the founders to scale the company with them.
So I live in Hong Kong, but I'm originally from Canada, so I also am East and West. And I've worked for a lot of startups in China, a lot of startups in the US. So what is the difference between a startup in China, a startup founder in China, and a startup founder here in the US?
US is very big, obviously. So I'll center the discussion mostly around Silicon Valley. I think as someone who kind of grew up in Silicon Valley, it's easy to see how it is the center of innovation in the world for a long time. Stanford, Berkeley, amazing institutions, a lot of funding from US military, open environment, very easy to transfer technology out of university into the commercial world. Having said that, when I first went to China in '95, I thought it would take a long time for China to modernize. But over the next 20 years, it's impressive to see what founders in that country have done. And GGV was very early in Alibaba, as early as 2003. And valuation back then was a very expensive $180 million, obviously very different today. And so we see how the nation changed, even though it's communist regime, the founders thrived despite that, and not in spite of it. Not because of it, but in spite of that. And it's when we have a podcast called 96, as you mentioned. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Actually, that's not...
Wait a minute. Let's make sure everybody heard that.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
to 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
6 days a week.
6 days a week.
Whoa.
Okay, that's what a startup founder does
in China intact.
Okay.
How many people are willing to do that for 5 years straight?
Whoa, one guy here. Oh, a couple people, great. All right. Oh,
and I'm underselling it a bit. When I invest in Xiaomi, it's pretty much 007 all the time, except going home to change and take a quick nap. They did that for the first 3 years. I'm not glorifying it. I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it. Some could even argue, hey, if you're so hardworking, maybe you're not very efficient at what you do. That's a common phrase. You work smart or work hard. You can't have both. But yes, we do see time and time again, there are quite a number of founders in China for a variety of reasons were able to keep that up and be able to be quite efficient at what they do. Some argue, oh, they just copy. It's much easier to copy. Sure, there's definitely examples of that. At least for the first 10 years in China, you see that between 1995 to 2005. But what's happened in this decade, starting with WeChat in China, and then the bike sharing companies, that you do see that their companies are innovating and coming with a product that the West hasn't seen. And you see Facebook Messenger try to copy WeChat, Instagram, and Snapchat all doing something similar. And now you're going to see more and more cross-border exchanges between the two countries.
All right, let's talk a little bit about WeChat, because this is something that I've noticed explaining WeChat to a lot of American and European startups. So what I see with WeChat is that everybody knows probably it's a messaging platform, but it's much more than that.
Yes.
Because the Chinese community, the Chinese culture needs more than just that. What else does it do, and why do you think American startups are not like making WhatsApp and things do the same thing?
I think in Silicon Valley, it's always the philosophy of be focused on what you do. So there's an inherent interest on the supply side to come with apps that are single purpose and do extremely well and have good unit economics. If needed, it can be very high end and will gradually come down to the mass market over time, but you want to be able to establish a brand differentiation of what you do. And that's something that's ingrained and developed, has worked well for Silicon Valley over the last 30 years. What China has discovered is that because it's so hard to monetize in China initially in the e-commerce space and in the gaming space and in internet service space, ads revenue is so small that you can't just be doing one thing and get rewarded for it. So they have to figure out a way to satisfy a lot of needs from the user and hope that throughout all that, some of them could be value added and charge a premium. But for the most part, you want to get as many people using the app as possible. To do that, you got to fulfill more functions. Hence, you have more Plan S6, you have to do more. You can't just do one single purpose app. You got to do a super app that has many functions in it. Whereas like something like WeChat, that's more than a messenger. Or something like a Meituan that allows you to book a variety of things, not just ride sharing and the food delivery, but also travel and other things. That over time, people get used to and get spoiled by that. So now, as you know from traveling in China, you don't need cash anymore. You can use Alipay or WeChat Pay. Even an offline store will accept it. And you can order food anytime you want, and it's delivered within 30 minutes.
Anytime?
Anytime.
Meaning anytime?
Anytime.
Not till like midnight, like
even after midnight, you can still get food.
And when you say payment, you don't just mean I can pay a 7-Eleven. I can pay a street vendor who's making noodles.
Even beggar.
Even beggars.
WeChat Pay. Even the QR code on the phone, just scan it and pay the money. So it's so efficient that you can just scan. It is amazing what that has done in the last 4 years, and it's no wonder. In China right now, mobile payment is about 11x the market size it is in the US. Why is that? Well, partially because in the US, credit cards are so popular. So the marginal utility from switching from a credit card to Apple Pay is less. I go to a restaurant, I want to pay with Apple Pay, I can't. I can go back and run home and get my credit card because I left my wallet at home. Whereas in China, this credit card wasn't as popular. It's more expensive to maintain terminals and also be charged by the equivalent of Visa in China, ChinaUS, that mobile payment took off. It's cheaper, faster, more efficient.
So that's another good thing to touch upon. So because credit cards were not a major thing in China, they had to jump over that and create this digital wallet, right? Whereas in the US and Europe, credit cards are a main thing. They have a lot to lose. Visa, MasterCard are not going to jump across this whole thing. They need to keep it. Plus, users are like that, right? So what else in China have you seen like that has jumped over these things that are common to us in the West?
last year in 2008, in May, Dara from Uber spoke at the WeChat conference that holds annually in Southern California. And what he said is that Uber is evolving. It will be an app for all kinds of transportational needs, which also includes travel. And what he's essentially saying, without saying it explicitly, is that Uber is going to look like Meituan in China. You can book car rides, you can book bike share, you can order food, you can travel, you can look up reviews on restaurants, you can get discounts like Groupon does. So it's a variety of things all combined into one. And over time, you can see Uber and Uber Eats will end up being like that. And Uber Eats is growing faster than Uber Rides now. If Uber stayed at like Lyft, just in ride sharing, growth will eventually slow down unless you go global. So that's another interesting point, which is that it used to be going global is one single purpose app, keep it simple, do it globally, and get massive scale from doing one thing well. Over time, you're going to see that it will be more of a super app of different sizes, depending on the situations, and go global later, but start off with regional domination first. And the lesson we see from the US versus China is that the rest of the world, whether it's Latin America, Southeast Asia, India, Africa, Middle East, are increasingly look at both models and learning from the Chinese model even more than before. And we host a lot of people coming to our Silicon Valley office, as well as in Beijing and Shanghai. And it's impressive that the team goes to both places, not just one anymore.
Does everybody know what Meituan is? No. Okay, let's talk a little bit about guy there. Let's talk a little bit about that and what is it? Why is it so huge? Why is it worth so much money now?
Right. You turn on Meituan, it's very busy. It seems like it's a combination of Yelp, Groupon, Uber Eats, Uber, Expedia, all combined into one. And so they're taking on 5 verticals at the same time. There's a publicly traded company on Hong Kong Stock Exchange, market cap's about 35 billion. And why is that interesting? Because that's all in China. And Uber may go public this year at about arguably $100 billion valuation. That's worldwide, with a stake in DD in China. So the whole world is 100 billion, and this company alone, with competitor in China, is 35 billion. Not just how massive the China market is at the surface, but you dig deeper, it's because there's so many products that work with each other. I'll give you one example. If just Uber or Uber Eats is less interesting, what Meituan has done is that because they have relationship with a lot of merchants. So Casey, you're going home, you order a car ride from Meituan, so Meituan knows your route. Once it does know his route, it will prompt looking at the restaurants along your route and know which one has promotion that's already in place in the database, and it will prompt you to give you a choice whether you will order it or not. So you can order it, either go there, pick up in person, or you would go home and the food will arrive 15 minutes later, so you can have it. So it's extremely efficient. And so instead of the merchant will even pay you to stop by his restaurant if you want to. This stops as like part of the right. And this is doing that because instead of paying China's Google, Baidu, for search listing, might as well be very intentional driven and just pay Meituan because he knows you're going by to his restaurant. So it's things like that that makes it interesting when you have multiple businesses that can work well in sync with each other. If you just one app or one purpose, it's hard to make that work.
So I was just in Shenzhen recently, and I went with my friend to KFC, and they paid for a chicken meal with their face. Okay? So this is something that, to me, is amazing, right?
It's scary, but amazing.
Scary and amazing. So from your perspective, since you also spend time in the US, I think that's a huge privacy breach. I'm not sure if everybody in this room is willing to give out their face to pay for chicken. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But to talk a little bit about the Chinese consumer and the American consumer and how, what we see in China, that they don't really are so hung up on their privacy to make it easier for them to do things like get food on the way home and give out their data so that they can get a better experience digitally.
Right. I'll give another example. That seems good or bad, but it is what it is. We moved from Shanghai to Beijing in 2011. We have since moved back to the Bay Area in 2014. But when we moved to Beijing, our second baby was born. And we got this email about 3 months into it, after he was born, from Taobao of Alibaba. And it says to my wife, Claire, for being a great supporter of Taobao, we were with you with your first child, and show her some of Shiba, And then, congratulations on your second child. So both my wife and I look at this message. It's interesting, kind of scary, but at the same time, it's also impressive that the data mining is working and actually can see what's going on. So you're right, most Chinese consumers are used to, I don't think they've ever read 1984, but they used to, what's the
Handbook, I think.
They used to have everything more served with data mining. And what it means is that this model probably will be adopted organically by other emerging markets where consumers don't mind this kind of lack of restrictions. For better or for worse, it is a alternative model to what Silicon Valley has done, and it's increasingly causing some friction as well. I think the US government is paying a lot more attention to what the Chinese startups are doing than ever before. And I think we're in a period you're going to see a lot more volatility over the next 10 years.
One of the things I recently learned about is this company in China called Luckin Coffee.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk a little bit about that. So people see it at face value, it looks like a competitor to Starbucks, but it's not, right? They're doing something about data mining, using coffee as a lure to get users to use it.
Well, there are examples like that and more, which Chinese startups are very good at figuring out, do one thing to get you in and upsell you with other services. And they all try to come up with more experience and services that you're not expecting. Another example is KFC. I go into KFC in the morning and I can get Chinese breakfast made, and it's hot and it's warm. And in the US, and it's clean. It's clean, and so it is impressive. And for KFC, China is probably their #1 market. So increasingly, multinationals who are willing to localize, do something different for Chinese market, we see interesting results. I just stopped by Airbnb China office. I helped them with their China entry strategy over the last 4 years, and it's impressive to see how much they have grown in China over the last 12 months. And now they have a China GM, head of China in place. That was a founder before, not just someone who from an executive from a tech company. So now you're seeing more and more founders willing to consider alternative path and doing things beyond just focusing on China.
Okay, that's a great point. I want to talk about Airbnb for a second. So at Rise Conference, because it's an international event, a lot of people are coming into Hong Kong to see how they can get into China. Right? And I think that, people say get a local partner, but Airbnb doesn't have a local partner. They went in directly themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like maybe some of these startups here that are looking to get into China, what's the best way to get in?
Sure. It's a good question. Typically, we encourage startups to look for a partner in China, whether it's the investors or someone like yourself who are familiar with the Chinese market. I think for Airbnb, they thought about getting a partner in China, but they couldn't they just couldn't always find the right fit. So they decided to do it on their own. It took them more time. But over time, they found the right team with the right help from investors and ended up getting the right license from the Chinese government in order to operate independently. So it took a lot more work, but I think it's paying off for them. The easiest path is do what Yahoo did and just invest in Alibaba and just grow with Alibaba, which is what Uber eventually did with Didi. And I still think that's the best route, but it'll take a lot more work when doing it.
All right, they're asking us to hurry up here. I have so many questions. We have to sit down and do a podcast together, but because I'm Canadian, I want to get your take on Huawei. What is going on? What do you think is going on with Huawei? How safe the people in the room with Huawei technology? Are Canadians going to be allowed to go back to China soon?
My wife's Canadian,
okay,
and so I still feel that it's the safest in the next 10 years to carry a Canadian passport or a Singaporean passport. So you're a lot more neutral. I think the tension between U.S. and China over tech is increasing. Because from U.S. government perspective, it doesn't distinguish startups with VC funding with Chinese SOEs anymore. It feels that over time that it will be harder for tech companies in China to stay truly independent. Of course, from China's perspective, it feels that all the spying goes on with the US government and Google and iPhone anyway, so they're not doing anything different. But increasingly, it's becoming a lot more, and they're running each other a lot more. So I think that, unfortunately, over the next 10 years, we're going to see more volatility. So being in places that are more neutral will end up being sort of what people try to go for.
And how do you think the China-US trade war is going to affect startups in the short term?
I think the trade war affects the startups less directly. The tariffs don't affect the companies, as many companies, not much. However, it does affect people's confidence for the future. We do see manufacturers in China investing less, waiting to see what is going to happen. Personally, I feel that the trade war is part of a bigger issue. So there will be some kind of agreement on trade for now. But over time, how the Chinese tech companies behave, how CCP behaves about global expansion will say a lot about what will happen in the overall relationship between the two countries.
All right, that's all the time we have. I encourage you to subscribe to the 996 podcast to learn more about China and what's going on there. But please give a warm thank you to Tung.